No, can't hear you, Kenny. Nope.
This is unbelievable. We're just going to take over the podcast.
All right,
Welcome, everybody. This is the Bourbon Roundtable. And tonight we're coming to you live from Kenny's living room where he can't get audio to work. Let's send it around.
Blake, why don't you start?
Who's got the banjo for the...
Oh, that's right. We need the music.
Ed Bly and Rising Tide Spirits are back again with a new release of Old Stubborn Bourbon. And this release of Old Stubborn is a premium hand marriage of 10, 11, and 12-year cask strength, barely filtered pot still bourbon. It comes in at a staggering 123.8 proof, and the flavoring grain for this one, which the last one was wheated, but this time it's now rye. Rich, sweet, and bold with a long finish that's sure to be another eye-opener. You can order online at Sealbox or thebourbonconcierge.com, and you can even purchase in person at Revival Vintage Spirits, and even now with very few select stores in Kentucky. You can get it now while you can, but be sure to do it because it's not going to last long. Do you ever pour yourself a bourbon, swirl it around, and then start struggling to come up with tasting notes? And perhaps you're also looking for a good Father's Day gift idea. Well, you can now solve both with a kit from Knows Your Bourbon. And unlike other nosing kits on the market, Knows Your Bourbon kits feature real ingredients for the most authentic aromas. You can smell real Tahitian vanilla bean instead of some synthetic aroma that's just made from chemicals. So head on over to knowsyourbourbon.com and enter code BP10 for 10% off your order.
Play Whiskey Wednesday Round 11, the memory game. Until June 26, each week you can win one of our 12 incredible grand prizes. Select 2 doors at checkout. And if they match on drawing night, you'll win that bottle. Not a match? No worries. You still score a Weller 12-year. Every $5 ticket gives you 5 chances to win, including 4 weekly bonus prizes. Get your tickets now at give270.org. Charitable Gaming License ORG 0002703.
Always find what you love at Total Wine & More. With so many great bottles to choose from at the lowest price, it's easy to find your favorite Cabernet or a new single-barrel bourbon to try with some help from one of their friendly guides. And with every bottle comes the confidence of knowing you just found something amazing. With the lowest prices for over 30 years, find what you love and love what you find only at Total Wine & More. Curbside pickup and delivery available in most areas. Visit TotalWine.com to learn more. Spirits not sold in Virginia and North Carolina. Drink responsibly and be 21. From their bar to yours, Chad and Sarah of the popular YouTube channel It's Bourbon Night bring you their favorite at-home old-fashioned mix with the new Elemental Elixir's Golden Hour Syrup. It's a custom-made syrup with notes of bold black tea, warm spices, and orange zest. All you need is your favorite whiskey and ice. No bitters needed. One bottle makes 16 drinks, so that's only $1 a cocktail before you add your own whiskey. They can also be enjoyed in other cocktails or spirits, mocktails, coffee, tea, and anything you can think of. It's crafted locally in Lexington, Kentucky, and you can get your bottle now at whiskeyambitions.com. Welcome back to the episode of the Bourbon Pursuit Podcast. Kenny here. We've got the 8th edition, I believe, of the Bourbon Community Roundtable. It's always one of the crowd favorites where we get all of the biggest bloggers around this realm to kind of come together and talk about, well, what's happening within inside of bourbon. So we've got news, we've got different kinds of just topics that are things to kind of talk in mind. And this is all done on YouTube Live. So if you haven't caught this one, we've been saying it for 8 episodes now that you can catch us all on YouTube Live. We put the links out there on social media. So please come and join us. We've got everything happening. We got I think we got 37 people on the right now that are just watching and chatting along with us. And if you did miss the last podcast, we had mentioned that we are going to be switching over to video. And this is going to be the first video that we're going to post because we're not going to go crazy, but we've got a video editor that we've hired that we're going to have for doing a new intro video and all that sort of stuff that we'll get to in a video upcoming after this. So with that, let's go ahead and get this started. So I'm going to go ahead and push it around the table to let everybody introduce themselves. And I'll start off with you first, Brian. Go for it.
Yeah, this is Brian Harrow with Sippin' Corn. You can find me on Twitter at Sippin' Corn, SIPPNCORN. Corn blog spot where I mostly blog about reviews and legal history bourbon.
And somebody's got a kid there. I can hear that.
Oh, that
Not
may
it.
be my fault.
Not it.
Life of Pets apparently is
He's
on
the only one
break.
who didn't hear it.
Yeah, I have that tuned out.
Well, go ahead, Blake. We got you on the hook, so go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay. Sorry about that. I'm Blake from Bourboner.com. You can find me at Bourboner.com/blog or on social media, either Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. It's all Bourboner except for Twitter, which is Bourboner.com.
And the guy who likes to give him all the shit, so you're up Suburbia.
Oh, me? Oh. Hey, guys, this is Carrie. I run Suburbia.com. That's SUBOURBIA.com. You can find me on Twitter with the same name, at @Bourbon_gamer. And you can buy my line of products. They are T-shirts that say Bourboner on them in honor of Bourboner. That's the only time I'm going to throw that joke out there because people apparently didn't like that I said it like 3 times in a podcast, so I'm just going to use it once.
That's all good. And Nick, round us out.
And I'm Nick, one of 3 guys behind Breaking Bourbon, breakingbourbon.com. You can find us online at breakingbourbon.com for reviews, articles, and, of course, the release calendar. And then you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Breaking Bourbon.
Sounds good. Blake, I'm keep muting you until you get the kid to quiet down back there. So it's gonna be like PTI around here. We're gonna keep it silent until
Can I unmute myself? Okay, he's in bed. We're awesome.
So first kind of question tonight, this is Brian kind of talked it up and said this is going to be our Derby Week special because it is the Kentucky Derby that's happening around here. It's Derby season. I actually put this down on our Twitter handle a few days ago. It's Derby season around here when all of a sudden Craigslist starts blowing up and says, all right, $2,000 for a bottle of Pappy 20 for your Derby party. Because that's just what happens, right? Everybody starts wanting to throw out their Pappy bottles for sale. So I know I was late tonight because I was having a midweek Derby party, but do you guys have any Derby parties or Derby plans coming up this weekend?
Well, it starts now. Kenny, you'll know this, but for everybody else, the locals start on Thursday now with Thurby, which my wife is claiming royalties on that she named about 10 years ago. So I'm starting Thursday and then going Friday for Oaks into the infield and then Derby party on Saturday.
You're infielding it, huh? So are you going crazy?
No, I'm the responsible adult for a bunch of 16-year-old girls.
Oh, I do not envy you one bit.
They check in every hour on the hour or we go home.
And you out of towners? Are you guys catching any horse racing this weekend, or are you just continue on just mowing the grass as usual?
What?
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, there's a horse race this weekend.
Yeah, I was gonna say we sometimes bet on it a little bit, but we're more worried about the TPC in 2 weekends than we are about the Derby this weekend. So not a whole lot of action, at least in Jacksonville with the Derby.
I think everybody watches it, around the country. We just don't make a whole week out of it, or a day, even, honestly. I mean, we'll make an excuse to make some mint juleps and probably turn on the TV about 5 p.m. or whatever so and watch it. And it's always, it's one of those events that it's like the Olympics. You got to watch it just because it's on and you want your children in there to watch it because such of the history and the tradition of it. But yeah, I think outside of Kentucky, maybe we don't go as crazy as you guys do.
Yeah, I've been there. Was in the infield once. That was a lot of fun. I will say it does seem like it's a lot more popular now too. A lot of people do talk about mint juleps. I don't remember that 5 years ago, 8 years ago. Whereas now, maybe just because they know I'm into bourbon, but seems like the popularity has risen quite a bit over the past few years.
Well, sounds good. I know we talked about mint juleps a little bit. For anybody that didn't catch it, on our Facebook page, I put my own private batch recipe that I do for mint juleps. So every year, Ryan, he's not with us tonight, but Ryan throws a pretty good sized Derby party every single year, and I bring a huge batch of mint juleps with us. and it's a way better than anything that you can buy off the shelf. So I put the recipe out there for anybody that's looking to make your mint juleps. Go over there and go check it out.
Hey,
Do not buy off the shelf. Do not buy off the shelf.
Exactly.
There's a good question in the chat about the Derby from Michael, who said, "Is it true there's a Woodford Reserve cocktail drink that costs $1,000 at Churchill Downs?"
Yes, that is very, very true. And actually, we get the opportunity here in Louisville, at least for a lot of the bloggers and people around here, we get press releases about it all the time. And they say it's the Woodford Reserve $1,000 mint julep. And we get to, and actually, if you catch, I believe it was this time last year is when we had Woodford Reserve on the podcast. I don't know if it was Jackie or somebody else. It might have been, I think it was Chris Morris, actually. So we had Chris Morris on the podcast, and he actually started talking about the Woodford Reserve $1,000 mint julep that was happening. So yes, it does happen every single year. There was one year where they actually had ice that was shipped in off a glacier that they had chipped off.
Hell out of here.
That was 1 year. And that was like the one that like made it like really special that everybody always talked about. That was just one time though. So ever since then, it's just a hyped up way to, it's also like selling a lot of stuff for charity too. So consider it for that. It's not that you're just getting gold flakes inside of your mint julep.
Well, what are you getting in the $1,000 Derby
Hopefully a horse to go along with your mint julep for $1,000.
You wish. Oh, $1,000 might pay for oats for like a week, right? So, but I do know you actually get the cup. So the Sterling cups that you always see those famous Sterling cups for mint juleps. You actually do get the cup that goes along with it. It is not a $1,000 cup, so always keep in mind that it is for charity. I believe at the end of the day. So understand that.
Yeah, if it's for charity, good for them then.
I mean, they're not going to get my money, right?
I still want, like, if it's glacier ice, like, is there going to be a locket from the Titanic on there or something? Like,
only one way to find out.
Yeah,
you got to come here and buy it, man.
We'll send you a CD with the theme song from it, just to make sure that you never forget it.
Can I hold Blake while we're listening to the song?
Maybe you can paint him. All right.
Stay tuned for the after. This is only for the folks that are on Patreon.
This is what happens when we start late. Everyone's been drinking so much already. There's way too many Titanic references.
I know. And you know what? I actually looked back at it. We haven't had a round table in I think almost 5 weeks. So it's been over a month since our last one. So
it's been too long.
We've got some things to catch up on. That's for sure.
Well, thank you, Michael, for the question too.
Yes, absolutely. So let's go ahead and let's jump into it a little bit. So Pappy 25 is out. Who cares? Let's be honest. Like, if it falls into your lap, would you buy it? Or would you just basically just say, like, I'm going to buy it to sell it only because it is what it is? Or do you think you're going to buy it just to hold on to it? Or is it just one of those things? Because in my opinion, I'm not even chasing after it. There's just no point. 700 across the country. Everybody that is any kind of representative of a potato is going for it. And I just don't care.
Yeah. And what's retail on at 1,900?
1,800, I think.
1,800.
11,000. Are they going for
really?
Yeah.
And that's where it's like, I mean, I hate to say who cares, because it is really cool. I mean, it's 25 years. There's only so many of them. They did a great job with the branding. The box looks cool. But at the end of the day, that's the niche of the small portion of the market that actually cares. It is interesting that, I mean, I guess because it has Pappy on the name, but they've been able to do that a whole lot better than, basically Michter Celebration sits on bar shelves across the country. And I can't imagine is that this 25-year tastes all that much better than anything else, either the 23 or like the Michter Celebration and I don't know. I can't wrap my head around it at this point. But for some people, I guess it's pretty cool. I think it's more of a collector's item than anything, than a bottle of bourbon.
And Eric Mancarelli, he did correct me. It is technically Old Rip Van Winkle 25 year. We can't call it Pappy 25, but it's just easy. It's just the easy way to just throw it in there.
Yeah, I thought somebody said they did. Wasn't there Pappy on something?
I think there was Pappy on the shipping box that it came.
Oh, that's what it was.
That's what I saw.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this represents kind of the epitome of where bourbon is. You know, you had for the OFC, you had charity behind it. You had 200 bottles, right? Fewer bottles. I mean, this, you got more bottles. You know, if you think of the kind of the peak of bourbon right now with what people are going to buy for something that comes out, not something that's real old, that kind of thing. I mean, real old as far as released years ago. This is, I think, kind of it. And that Pappy name really takes it so far, like you said, Blake. Or the Old Rip Van Winkle name. But either way, the association that we all know what it is.
Yeah.
Here's the only thing that pisses me off about this, and it
is that he threw you under the bus on Twitter.
Well, besides the whole fucking bullshit answer on Twitter, this is my thing about it. Okay.
There's more than one thing, Kerry.
I'm getting into it.
This is my only thing. Here's 5 of them.
Trace found 200 barrels or 200 bottles of really old bourbon. They decided to send them all to charity. They raised over $10 million for charity for these bottles. Cool as shit on their part. Julian Van Winkle walks in and says, "Damn, we've got a couple barrels here of 25-year Pappy. Let's fucking create a nice fancy wooden box and slap an $1,800 retail label on it and send that shit out to the market with like 700 bottles." I mean, did you need more hype and praise and money in the bourbon world? Like, that would have been the perfect opportunity for them to come back with something charitable as well and say, this Pappy 25 is rare. We're going to also do maybe half of these to charity, follow along the footsteps of Buffalo Trace, who is making all of our stuff. But no, it was, let's put a fancy engraved bottle and a fancy box and send that shit out. And before it even hits the market, it's going to be worth 5 times its retail price. And it's going to be amazing. Everyone's going to talk about it. That's the bullshit that I don't like about it. I don't hold Buffalo Trace responsible for this, because I think that with the OFC stuff, I mean, like I said, they raised a whole bunch of money. And at the end of the day, the Van Winkle family is going to tell them what they want. So if they say, we want to bottle up these 710 bottles, we're going to bottle them up, regardless of what BT thinks. So I just think it's kind of a shitty move on a Van Winkle's part.
Yeah, I think that's a no-win situation, though, because who knows how that actually worked. Like, did they 2 years ago just say, hey, let's sit on a couple barrels of the 23 year and wait and see what happens? Or I don't know. And maybe I'm just less offended by money grabs than most, because they have this, it's kind of like striking when the iron's hot. But I don't know. I guess I see your point on that one, but I'm less offended if, they are a business. They're not a charity. So my point, or my take on that is always, make your charity, make your business. Who knows what they do personally? Maybe they give all their money personally to charity, but
really,
I'm not trying to defend the Van Winkles. I just don't have a problem with businesses making money, because that's, that's the point of it. But that's the
I don't have a problem personally. I have a problem with the company or the organization.
Fair enough.
It is a really small brand, though. I mean, that shipment of Old Rip Van Winkle each year, that's relatively small. What's this going to be? $1.3 million worth of sale. I mean, they are kind of striking when the iron's hot, and it is hard to blame them for that. And it does kind of hold with the name too. It's the epitome of bourbon. What do you do to the feel of it if you do half for charity, half for auction? That made sense for Buffalo Trace, I think. I'm not sure for the Pappy Van Winkle, the Old Rip Van Winkle name, that's really in line with, how people kind of view them. So I'm not really surprised by it at all. I can't say I'm surprised at all, but at the same time, I'm also not all that interested in it either. It's the hype train. I mean, even at MSRP or a little more, the stuff is good, but it's not worth 10 times what it goes for MSRP. I mean, that's insanity. But
what's worth a $10,000 bottle?
What's worth an $1,800 bottle?
Yeah,
exactly.
Turning bourbon into Scotch. Scotch they always have like here's a $60,000 50-year-old bottle. I think they're just trying to get to that Where
and I'm surprised they didn't start with a higher MSRP. Frankly, and I'm not offended by it. I'm not going to chase it. I don't want to buy it. I'm not interested in it. See, Michter's doing a $5,000 celebration. I'm surprised they're not doing a $5,000 25.
Yeah, didn't somebody say that the Buffalo Traces, the charity bottle, was actually just going to be a lead-in for them to release a much higher retail bottle?
Oh, I'm sure it is. It's got to be.
Regardless, they raised over $10 million for charity.
Oh no, I agree.
Which is awesome. I mean, I think it's
a win-win.
At the end of the day, said we've got 200 bottles worth of stuff from between 80 and 82. We can either release this for a crap load of money or just give it to charity and let them make some money, which
it was a great tax write-off for themselves.
Sure. And publicity. They got a ton of publicity. I mean, who doesn't?
Publicity was
look
great.
at me right here singing their praises while they're, putting out 3 Eagle Rare 17 barrels per year. But I'm saying, like, it's still great on their part.
No, I agree.
So, have you actually seen one in person yet?
I've seen 2 in person.
The 25?
Yeah.
And they're behind him right now.
Yeah.
I wish. They were both like, hey, look at what we got. And both of them went to people who spent money that I wouldn't even make in 2 years in a store in a year. So you
buying nothing but wine, probably.
Yeah, you can't compete with that.
Yeah.
As a normal, everyday bourbon lover, unless you've won the lottery, you can't compete.
Yeah, it's at least around here, it's the same story as usual. We've got plenty of retailers that are charging $5,000 to $6,000 for it because it's a 3-tiered system, and you can do that. But I think people are, if they know they can get $9,000 or $10,000 for it, they're going to drop $6,000 on it, and they're going to go try to take the easy $3,000 out of it, which you can't blame them, right? But still, it's the nature of how bad this game is. And just to kind of go back on what Blake said of having this become the Scotch world, 22 Catch 22 said Macallan just came out with a 65 year for $35,000. Oh, so just gives you an idea of how.
But Scotch is international. Somebody is going to buy that internationally who has billions of dollars and nothing else to buy.
Is that full of bourbon, Carrie?
Carrie's drinking a water jug full of bourbon.
That's my tennis jug right there.
Yeah, Pappy 25 in there. That's where one of the bottles.
Who needs a brown paper bag when you can just hide a bottle in an igloo carrying case?
I've got a patent on that. Don't try to take
it.
Brian's working on it for me.
I want to hear Brian's Sipping Corn's take on it.
On the Pappy?
Yeah, the 25.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm surprised they didn't charge more on suggested retail. I mean, I expected this to be their $5,000 equivalent of celebration, and they'd sell everyone at it, and all the retailers would jack it up from even that price. So I agree. It's all about the business. It's all about the money for them. I agree with you, Carrie. It's not their style to do this as charity. I wouldn't expect that on the Pappy brand or the Rip Van Winkle brand. And I don't begrudge them for it. But I'm not going to chase it. I'm not going to look for it. If offered a drink of it, I'll see what I think about it, obviously, but I'm not looking for it.
Would you pay $150 for a pour in a bar?
No.
I
would if it was being expensed.
Yes. That's
hey, all of us can write that off. We can all write that off. Just got to find the right accountant. There you go.
That's a good point. Like, what if Michter's celebration celebration was the same as Pappy, as Old Rip Van Winkle 25? Would it still sell? What if it was both Stitzelweller bourbon, 25 to 30 years old? Would it still, like, if we knew for a fact, if Michter's came out and said our celebration is 30-year-old Stitzelweller bourbon, would it sell out immediately?
Yes, immediately, in a heartbeat.
It probably would, but it wouldn't have the same because everyone knows the Pappy name, and that carries it so much farther, I think. Like, I got a text today from a buddy who was like, hey, I'm at a golf tournament and they're auctioning a bottle of Pappy 15 for $1,000. Should I bid on it? I'm like, no, what? You don't even drink bourbon. I've given you really good bourbon at my house. You say it tastes terrible. Why would you spend $1,000?
Mix it with Coke.
Yeah.
It's interesting though whether if Michter's just came out and said, "Hey, guess what? Our M20 is still Stitzel-Weller."
Mm-hmm.
Would it drive up the price double, triple?
I think Stitzel-Weller would. I mean, that's the people who are buying that know the Stitzel-Weller name, and they'd buy it in a heartbeat.
That's still the rumor, right? For anybody that doesn't know, like M20 is still Stitzel-Weller stock. It used to be, Michter's 10 up until the end of 2014. But as far as I understand, Michter's 20 is still Stitzel-Weller stock. Am I incorrect?
They won't confirm it.
They won't confirm it, but I've heard from pretty reliable sources that it is. And my guess, the only reason by not confirming is because they don't want to tarnish the brand by saying, "Oh, it's going to be something completely different next year because we ran out of all the stuff that everyone likes."
Right.
So,
was
like the 14 to 15 flip.
There was a big difference between 14 and 15.
Yes.
15 is pure Old Forester to me.
But do you think without that Pappy name or that Rip Van Winkle name that just gets smeared all over the mainstream media, if it didn't have that and they're burying the Stitzel-Weller name somewhere within an article or it doesn't even get picked up, would it have the same impact though? And would we see it?
Well, they're not going to bury the name anywhere. I mean, you've seen everyone tout Stitzel-Weller as hard as they can.
Yeah, the nerds will dig it up, I think, no matter where it's.
But outside of that community, though,
that's
can't be any
what I
Stitzel-Weller left anywhere, can there?
I don't know. I didn't think there was a lot of this stuff sitting. I would think it's pretty much all gone by now.
It's still out there.
After Diageo did their one barrel of the Blade and Bow, and
that's coming out again. That's coming out again for Derby.
Yeah, Derby.
Really?
Well, so that was only a little bit of Stitzel-Weller mixed with a whole lot of not Stitzel-Weller, right?
I thought the one they did, the Indiegogo one,
right. I think the 22 years is all Stitzel-Weller. The no age statement one is a drip of Stitzel-Weller.
It can't be all. It was like 120 when it first came out. It was like there was so much of it, and it was like 100. It was like the same stuff as Lost Profit.
Oh, well, you're right. It was a blend of, I think, of Old Bernheim and Stitzel-Weller.
Yeah.
Okay. Did they do was that the one they did like Solera aging on, or was that the small batch?
That was the Solera aging. Plus their regular Blade and Bow was Solera aging, like 0.001% Stitzel-Weller mixed with the rest.
I think it was just the small batch. I don't think it was the old stuff that was Solera aged.
Okay.
So
they kind of lose track of that age in that.
Blade and Bow 22 was all Stitzel-Weller.
Right. They had to keep the 22-year age statement, so they couldn't blend with younger stuff. So I think it's a blend of Old Bernheim and Stitzel-Weller, but all 22.
But all 22, yeah.
But I'm guessing they never said what percentages were what.
Right.
I never saw them.
They never reveal that. But they'll tell you what Blood Oath is all day long.
You love your Blood Oath.
I tried that Blood Oath live here, didn't I? Bourbon.
Yeah.
Y'all need to go review Bourbon Podcast 7 for my live take on Blood Oath 3.
It's a solid $50 bottle.
Let's say it rhymes with his thoughts of Blood Oath 1 and 2. So
Exactly.
Shopify's already taken the cash register online, helping millions sell billions around the world. But did you know that Shopify can do the same thing at your retail store? Give your point of sale system a serious upgrade with Shopify. Shopify's point of sale is your command center for your retail store. From accepting payments to managing inventory, Shopify has everything you need to sell in person. And with Shopify, you get a powerhouse selling partner that effortlessly unites your in-person and online sales into one source of truth. Track every sale across your business in one place and know exactly what's in stock. Connect with customers in-line and online. Shopify helps you drive store traffic with plug-and-play tools built for marketing campaigns, from TikTok to Instagram and beyond. And get hardware that fits your business. Take payments by smartphone, transform your tablet into a point-of-sale system, or use Shopify's point-of-sale Go mobile device for a battle-tested solution. Plus, Shopify's award-winning 24/7 help is there to support your success every step of the way. Do retail right with Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/bourbon, all lowercase, and go to shopify.com/bourbon to take your retail business to the next level today. Shopify.com/bourbon. If you're anything like me, then you can't get enough about bourbon. And that's why I'm a subscriber to Bourbon Plus magazine. Bourbon Plus is a quarterly publication that tells the stories from the heart of bourbon, the farmers who grow the grain, the distillers who labor over the process, and the people like you and me who raise their glasses to celebrate it all. Subscribe to Bourbon Plus magazine today at bourbonplus.com, that's PLUS.com, and use code PURSUIT at checkout for $5 off your subscription.
All right, cool. So I want to kind of move it on to a little bit different direction. And this is something that I found super interesting. And so just to give anybody an idea who's watching this, I usually tend to throw the questions I'm going to ask these guys a little bit earlier on, just so they have time to either prepare, kind of figure out like what kind of answers they want to throw. But this one, I kind of want to throw it as a little bit of a curveball because I read this and I was a little flabbergasted. And this is kind of news that is coming out of Bulleit. And this is coming out of a Facebook group that's out of Houston. And there's a certain someone that everybody knows, but I'm not going to say it just to keep the innocent here. But he had a post and it said, it's widely known that Bulleit Bourbon was sourced by Diageo from Four Roses for years. We've all known that, right? We've all known that Four Roses, or sorry, that Bulleit Bourbon we think is just Four Roses, right? But the contract ended a few years back, and they were buying fresh distilled bourbon and aging it for many years to come. And Bulleit's still going to be continued the source for that. However, there was a good response back, and it's from Cheryl Alagna. Cheryl is a retired master of whiskey from Diageo and worked very close with Bulleit for 11 years, and she's also a certified distiller. So listen to this. The Bulleit that was contracted to be produced at the Four Roses Distillery was a proprietary mash bill, corn, rye, and source, and a proprietary yeast strain that was used. So not one of the 5 yeast strains that are actually coming from Four Roses. Aging the casks were also set by Tom Bulleit and his team. He has a mash bill of Bulleit as 2/3 corn, 1/3 rye, with a teeny amount of malted barley to facilitate fermentation. That mash with a proprietary yeast and grain bill is totally different than any Four Roses that uses in their cask strength and is exactly the same mash bill as all other Bulleit bourbon marquees. It does not have any Four Roses lineage whatsoever other than where it's made. So what do you guys think about that?
So you're saying there's an 11th recipe that is used at Four Roses only for Bulleit?
Exactly.
Well, and Kerry, there's actually more than the 10. Sorry, Blake. There's actually more than the 10 already that generally the public doesn't know about, and I've confirmed with Jim and Brent. There's another yeast out there, and I've posted a picture from the Bulleit tasting room that shows this last yeast. So everyone knows the main yeast. There's also a E yeast.
D? Is it dog?
E is an echo, I think he said.
Echo. Okay.
But I don't know if that's what Bulleit used. But there's an E yeast. And
the last letter
they use,
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it could be OESE, for example. And then the drawers at the Bulleit tasting room used to be labeled, in the tasting lab, used to be labeled, and you would see the Four Roses recipes. You would see OESF, you'd see OBSQ, you'd see all of those drawers labeled, and they those labels off and started asking questions. But then there were also other labels. There was then after that, it was the @ LBI. So they're also apparently getting bourbon from Lawrenceburg, Indiana. And then there's other codes. There was LJSS. There's all these other codes on these drawers. So it's a true, mad scientist tasting lab that they've got there. And I got no idea, no information on what Bulleit actually is. I always assumed it was a 20% rye recipe, and you take the 35% rye recipe and you get some, new basically Four Roses small batch, and that's what you end up getting your 28% rye for Bulleit. But I got no information other than that.
Is Bulleit still? Do they say Bulleit is still the same recipe that it's been, or they've changed source for it?
So, other than the new distillery,
Well, they don't talk about the source. Talk about the source, but if you go on the Stitzelweller tour and start sneaking behind it when you're in the warehouse, you will see barrels that are marked Claremont. People who said there's Brown Foreman trucks that leave at 3 a.m. every night and go straight to Stitzelweller. So they're already getting sourced from elsewhere.
I know that.
Who knows?
Claremont was doing some of their rye, I believe it was.
In addition to Lawrenceburg?
Yeah. They were contracting. Yeah. Now, he didn't tell me if it was for the bourbon as well. He's like, yeah, however many days a week they were distilling for Bulleit for the rye, which was interesting because I thought that would be all.
I thought it was all MGP.
That's what I thought, and it could have been. It was a Beam employee, but not like,
It always had that taste too. It had
not like high up. Well, this was only a couple of years ago, so I don't even think this stuff is on the market yet. I think the thinking was things could go.
Some of these Claremont barrels that I saw are all within the last couple of years.
Yeah. And it would make more sense if it was the bourbon but I've heard, obviously the Brown Foreman connection, them saying that would make more sense. I was trying to find something. I don't know. I'd have a hard time believing with as much bourbon as Bulleit sold, Four Roses had this special recipe and had enough of it to keep them supplied for however many years when it was really going. Yeah, maybe some of that special recipe got mixed in, but I don't know. Whenever I talk to the Diageo people, the only thing I could really get confirmed about being, the Bulleit's trade secret was whenever Tom Bulleit first started and he contracted with Buffalo Trace or Ancient Age, whoever it was at the time, and was doing something different with the aging, which was basically just a heated warehouse. So I don't know. I'm sure that lady knows what she's talking about, but I'd have a hard time believing all Bulleit in the bottle was a special recipe and yeast and everything from Four Roses.
But we read it on the internet. So
yes.
I'm going to go ahead and point that out. Like,
she did word it really well.
It was in a group on Facebook on the internet.
By the way, it checks out. She's on LinkedIn. She does work for Diageo, so it does check out.
So she still works for Diageo.
Yes.
And she's still trade secrets like that?
Retired master of, because remember, Diageo actually got rid of their master of whiskey program, right? Mm-hmm. So she's technically a retired master of whiskey.
Did they make anything?
No, I think they just knew how to taste.
They just mastered it.
Well. Yeah.
But I would think if anything, they'd be good for the brand too. Yeah. And I think that's good information for the brand though too. I mean, does it make you like Bulleit more or less to believe?
I think it's awesome. Bulleit's like a great mystery now. What the hell is it actually made of?
Right. I mean, and if they're doing more of it themselves,
I seek out pre-2012 Bulleit now for like $100 a bottle. I'm gonna go buy it up right now.
You got to find the old bottles that say Lawrenceburg on the back.
Oh shit!
I do.
Are they bottled in bond?
Hold on.
Oh, here he's gonna go dig in.
They'll have the DSP on
right now. He's got to go dig in his archives. So anyway, while he's gonna go and do that, I kind of agree with you, Carrie. I think Blake's kind of playing the devil's advocate here, but I also think that what this information kind of came to light, the fact is that
the old one.
Oh yeah, so Blake's showing his old, pretty much original Bulleit label over here.
Yeah, and that
it's
completely different.
That's the Buffalo Trace one.
Yeah,
that's the new one.
No, that's the Buffalo Trace.
This is from This is it's it calls it Bulleit Distilling Company, but Frankfort, Kentucky.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it kind of what I was telling on saying, I was like, for me, it kind of renews a little bit or re-energizes my faith in Bulleit a lot more, right? Because whenever I'd go out or something like that, and people say like, "Oh, I'll take a Bulleit," and I'm like, "What an idiot! Like it's just Four Roses. Like just buy or get Four Roses." Because honestly, for the longest time, I just thought it was some blend of one of the mash bills that they already had. I honestly thought it was, and then this information coming out that they have their own proprietary yeast strain that they've been using and contract distilling with their own, different mash bill. I kind of think it puts it in a whole different category for me. That it's a little bit more respectable. Now, don't get me wrong. When I taste it, as somebody else was saying in here as well, what 22 Catch 22 is saying is it still tastes a lot like Four Roses. Not going to disagree with that, but I still think it opens up a little bit more. I guess you say room for I guess trying to make it way into a routine of drinking for me a little bit, just because I think it's interesting and being able to know that it's just not regular sourced bourbon. That's just their own private blend or something like that.
Right.
It'd be nice to think it's not just the same thing as something else in a different package.
That's right. Absolutely.
I gotta agree.
It's not another MGP. Let's put it that way, right?
Yeah, agreed.
Now the rye would be another MGP.
I just texted someone at Four Roses, so let's see what happens.
Now,
by the way,
it's big time.
She did go on to say, and she said that the new distillery is up and running in Kentucky, which is in Shelbyville, which just opened. Whiskey has been put down to age. It is running at full capacity. No production of Bulleit bourbon is actually happening at Dickel. Dickel is too small to do both Dickel and Bulleit. Plus, Orphan Barrel is bottled at Dickel, which is very intensive. Bulleit Rye is still made at LDI MGP, but will soon be moving to the new distillery.
Would you put me in this group? There's a lot of info. I need to become friends with this person.
Talk to me after the show. We can make it happen.
Okay. I do find that it's pretty interesting. I want to find out if there is a sixth yeast that is that's not known by people. That would be really interesting. Why wouldn't they put it in a regular rotation?
Seagram's had hundreds of yeasts, so you got to figure that they've been both at MGP and at Four Roses. They've got access to those somehow or another.
Yeah.
And with that drawer at the Bulleit Tasting Lab saying OESV at LDI, I mean that tells me that both facilities have the same yeasts as well.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's I like
very
it.
interesting.
Okay, so cool. So we kind of touched on that. I can hear my kid run upstairs right now, so I got to dart here for a second. So I want to let you all talk amongst yourselves.
Danger.
Bourbon Barrel Batch 011 wins Best Bourbon at San Francisco. Discuss.
So MGP takes both, right? So they've got the barrel batch and they've got WhistlePig. I mean, is this the crowning achievement for MGP?
No, that was made in Tennessee.
Dickel, right?
WhistlePig was Alberta, wasn't it?
No, Fred
corrected it
today that it was actually MGP.
Really?
That's what I assumed.
WhistlePig
that
has always been MGP?
No, not always.
No.
Just this one that won.
Hog that won.
Huh.
I assumed it was Alberta too.
It tastes totally different from it than MGP.
I agree. I totally agree.
It was the one. It was the most recent Boss Hog that won.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so they had
They could
13
have just changed. I haven't had the most recent
that
one.
makes sense. Yeah. I've heard great things about Barrel. I have never, to this day, had a single bit of Barrel bourbon.
Some of it's that's from
seeking out.
Tennessee has some of that Flintstones in it, but not as much as you get with Dickel at all. But when they've bottled the MGPs, it's been great.
Mm-hmm.
So this is,
I've heard it's really good. I don't see it in Atlanta anywhere.
I liked 11 a lot. I thought it was really good. In other news, apparently he submitted Joe at Barrel it ended up being the single barrel that we picked through Bourboner, and it won gold. So I wanted to go ahead and pat myself on the back for a second.
Gold medal, bro.
But I think gold is actually like the lowest. There's like quadruple gold, triple gold, double gold, platinum, diamond, and then just
don't knock yourself, man. Listen, you are a big deal.
Yeah, that's. I just want to make sure that was out there.
That's awesome.
I'll be selling my bottle for $1,500 later. So
I haven't had Barrel, but I've heard good things, and people seem to like them. It seems to be a good owner, good company. So hopefully they'll come to Atlanta at some point. I wish good things for them.
Yeah,
no, actually,
and they're doing more private barrels too. Go ahead, Kenny.
Oh, sorry. I haven't been searching for it. I actually haven't seen Batch 11 around town yet. Just haven't really looked for it. So, Brian, I don't know about you.
I haven't seen 11 either. I haven't tried it. But what I was saying is they have a decent private barrel selection program too.
Yeah.
So some of the stores have had it. Liquor Barn has had a really good barrel bourbon. Some groups I know have been able to get bottles or barrels of barrel bourbon. So I think they're doing the right things.
They've got a rye coming out soon too. It's if I remember correctly, it's coming out. I think it's 51% rye. I want to say 49% malted barley
from MGP.
I believe so. When they switched over their mash bill, that's my guess. Hasn't been really announced or disclosed too much, but we haven't really seen any of that from anyone yet.
Big surprise! Another ride coming out of MGP, right?
Yeah. So I do find it interesting that all these sourced companies now have their own distilleries, right? You have Bulleit, you have Angel's Envy, you have WhistlePig. Everybody's making their own stuff. Even Luxco
Barrel now has their own.
Barrel, right. Luxco now. So in 10 years, is it going to be a glut? I mean, I know we bring this up every time, but if we just hang out 10 more years, is there going to be a tremendous glut of bourbon that there's just too much for us to buy?
I think so. I don't think there's going to be any shortage of it. It's going to be the 1920s of whatever all over again, where there's just going to be so much whiskey that you'll be going down the aisles and you'll have no idea what to purchase. I think there will be a lot. My big holdup is trying to figure out, will these small craft ones actually be able to survive and take on the big guys? That's mine.
Yeah, I think there's a
lot of stills you can buy in about 5 years. If we want to pool our money together and start a distillery, there'll be stills for sale.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. I mean, everybody can't compete against each other. It's the way a market works, right? You flood a market, and eventually there's too much of a product, and people are going to back away. And they're going to sell, and they're going to go away a little bit, and there's just going to be so much product in 10 years. But it's exciting for us because as bourbon enthusiasts, we're going to want to try all this different stuff.
That's right. And prices will go down.
Prices will go down. But to the average everyday guy who has a liquor store who can only hold so much on his shelves, he's going to want the names that people know, right? So I just think it'll be interesting to see. I think we still have a long way to go before we get to what we might consider a glut or even the bubble bursting. I think we're still a little ways off, but it's in the foreseeable future, I think.
I think it's how you define that too, because you could, in some ways, say there's a glut right now. I mean, anywhere you go, a lot of places, there's plenty of stuff. It's just, do they have those couple special things that are highly sought after that you're looking for? Yeah. Pappy's hard to find, BTAC's hard to find, certain limited release stuff is hard to find. I know Blanton's is hard to find in some areas, but there's tons of other choices. It's just our people looking for that stuff. I mean, you have plenty of options right now. As the craft stuff floods the market, there's going to be even more. So we'll think of that glut as like when the high end stuff ends up just kind of sitting and all of it sits, so is that ever going to happen? Is there even enough of it, to recognize that, is Pappy ever going to sit from this point forward?
Probably not.
So here's a question that came from 22 again. He says the big guys are going to have to up their game or squire the craft games like Barrel. And when I think about this, I kind of think about it from like a tech perspective, right? Of why big companies swallow up startups or something like that. And when I think about what's happening in whiskey, it doesn't really change the fact of like, you're not making a better product. Like you're not reinventing the game per se. You're just buying more stock. You're buying bigger distribution. You're buying more things. So I don't think that in regards of being able to that big guys have to up their game, like change the scenario to think that think about it, like banks all of a sudden, like small banks that know how to like do online transactions and all those kinds of things in online banking, how they kind of disrupted a lot of older guys way back in the day. They don't really have to worry about that per se, right? I think it's a different industry per se. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think the big companies have to change or adapt? Do you think it's just we'll just swallow up little companies and we will just have a bigger footprint as we go towards the market?
I think we will see more of that swallowing the companies. I mean, I know that Abraham Bowman swallowed up by Sazerac, for example, but they really kept their hometown feel. What's that? West Virginia, I think, where they're located as an example. Are there going to be enough craft distilleries that take a big enough bite? I mean, you're seeing ones right now like Barrel that are really making a splash, but at the end of the day, I mean, they're really small production. Is that digging into, the big guys' sales? Are they really after that? I'm not sure that they are. And I think if anything, they may swallow up those few really, really special ones that hold a lot of potential. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of those craft guys are just going to fold on their own. The best ones, do they get swallowed up? Do they go separate? Do they get bought out like we're seeing with High West and these others? That's probably going to continue to see more of that.
I agree. High West and Smooth Ambler are going to be the easy targets, and frankly, Barrel will probably be a target with as well as they've been doing. But they're not competing with the yellow labels and the Buffalo Trace label, the normal Buffalo Trace label, and the Heaven Hill 6-year bottled and bond. I mean, they're all going for the $50 to $90 price range. So I think there's room for all of the $10 bottles to $10 to $25 bottles, and then the crafts will keep charging their 50 to 90s.
I think there was someone in chat who said, Eric said it's similar to the craft beer boom that's been going on for like 5+ years. And as it's been going on for 5+ years, I still find myself hunting for KBS and Bourbon County Stout and Bell's Black Note, even though I look at a shelf just filled with Imperial Stouts. It's all in the name. It's all in the hype. It's in the, you ask somebody else, man, what beer should I be looking for? And it's just one of those things where I think that the shelves will be filled and there'll be a ton of bourbon, but the name Pappy is going to be around for so long, and Antique Collection will be around for so long, and a lot of the Parker's Heritage Collection. I still think the people who put their roots in before the craft distillers really came in are the ones whose name is going to persist beyond that.
Absolutely. I want to address a question came up here from Eric in the chat. Why do they have to fold or become top tier? Isn't it possible they sit somewhere in the middle? I think referencing the craft. I think, yes, it is probably possible they sit somewhere in the middle, but it's can they get to the middle enough before they run out of money, is going to be the question. Can they fund operations? Can they make a living out of it when their loans run out, when their grants run out, whatever, and that's going to be the question. So you got to get big enough. You got to get a big enough distribution to make that happen, and it's very enticing when you're killing it, for other big companies to come in and say, hey, I'm looking to just change out my branding. Here's $100 million. How do you say no to that? And you can still run your operation and do it better. So I see that happening, and I see others just not making it, not quite getting to that point where they can keep the lights on,
I totally can see where you're coming from. I mean, there's no shortage of craft distilleries that are happening around here in Louisville, and I honestly think they throw more money into the marketing right now than they are into actually like what they're selling. And it's definitely, it's proving to the point, like it's working right now, right? It's working in regards, they have marketing, they can get people out to events. But how long can they sustain that level of just pushing a product that maybe it's not going to just start flying off the shelves, right? And I when we talk about craft, it always reminds me of the episode that we had with Ed Bly on. And he always said it's so easy to sell your first bottle. It's that second bottle is where it really becomes difficult. And so when they need to really have a killer product out there is when it's going to start becoming more of a do or die time for a lot of them. So we'll go ahead.
You've got some guys on the comments drinking your barrel bourbon. They're enjoying it.
Wise choice for the day. I saw that. Yeah.
Peanut butter flavor.
Peanut butter flavor. I saw that.
What they don't know is I actually dropped a peanut butter sandwich in when we're blending.
That's what it was.
Oh, those are those chunks floating around.
Yeah.
I thought I tasted some rainbow bread in there.
You thought it was barrel char. No, it was Marita.
So this is a question that comes from Quinn English, and I know Blake has done it. So it's just now started sweeping across the country. It's all over the forums. Has anyone tried E.H. Taylor 4-grain, and what are your thoughts? I personally haven't tried it yet. I know Blake had a good 30-minute review on his Facebook page, but anybody else that wants to talk about it, please share.
I haven't tried it. I'll pass to you guys. There it is.
Carrie's got his sample bottle.
I don't need 30 minutes to spread my gospel.
Please, Carrie, give us your honest feedback and review, because I know it's going to be legit.
It's not that good.
There we go. So this is my thought, right? This is my thought, and the fact that I love the bullshit story that they said of like, oh, these are the 4 grains that E.H. Colonel Taylor would have had around during that time. Like, whatever, like save us the story. But the thing is that, most bourbons are made with primarily 3 grains, right? You got, corn, malted barley, and either rye or wheat. And now they want to put both of them in. And if by some chance in the past 100 and whatever many years this has been going on, if they realize that if you put all 4 of these grains together, it made a better product, they would have been doing it all along. Yeah. Right. So when you put out a limited release of something that is not an experiment, like it's been done plenty of times, I think I don't know. It's just, you're just catching people with a hook at that point.
Sure. It's a 12-year.
Yeah. Total marketing hook. Now, on the other hand, if you guys have ever had the chance to home blend rare breed plus Bernheim wheat, it's great. I mean, there is pain, but you're right that it's in this case it's just a marketing hook.
Yeah, I think it's a hot sell right now while you have it.
I thought it was pretty good, and I mean,
but he's got a Sazerac polo on. He won't show you the logo that's underneath there, right?
He's covering it right here.
That's Birch Brothers.
Let me ask you this though: did it come from this, or did it come from a bottle?
No, it came from that.
Okay.
Sample bottle for anybody that's
yeah, it was sample. It was pretty good. I mean, I can't say I didn't like it. So now people will pay ridiculous prices for it, but I can't knock it because somebody's going to be dumb and pay $400 for a bottle. Like,
I don't knock anything. I knock it when I try it.
Okay, fair enough.
But that's fair. I mean, different strokes for different folks.
I thought it was pretty good, but I like E.H. Taylor too. It didn't really fit most of what they put out, which that was kind of a whole nother thing of, I'm still not sure what they're doing with the E.H. Taylor brand. I think most people are a little confused. Yeah, by that. But as far as the bourbon go, I thought it was pretty good.
I will say this about Seasoned Wood. When it first came out, I didn't like it. I've had a bottle open for about 9 months. I went back to it recently, and I thought it was really, really good. So maybe this is one of those bottles that is open for a while, and it grows on me. I do know that when I try stuff from this small plastic 50 milliliter bottle, I usually end up finding that from the glass bottle later on, it tastes different. So
now, do you think that it truly tastes different, or you think that's a mental thing of pouring it from a plastic bottle and your mind?
No, because I usually will. This bottle usually goes to myself and 3 of my buddies who live in the neighborhood, and we always try it. And almost always, when we try the glass bottle of it, it's better than what's in this little bottle that they send out.
I think it's not enough. I think it's not enough volume. I think
It should be
you need a little airtime.
Yeah.
That first
I've fought that battle before.
Yeah, that first pour is rarely the best pour, I feel like.
Yeah.
Second, third, after a week or so, that's when they tend to shine a little bit.
Exactly.
We got a sample too. I didn't have it.
2 days, it's gone. So.
We got a sample too. I didn't have it. Eric reviewed it. He gave it 3.5. Again, so it's decent. Again, not really worth the craziness based on that, but it seems to be that's what people are finding. I haven't really seen anyone that absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you. I think so. It was, I believe, a week or so ago, and it was in usual Kentucky fashion that Liquor Barn sends out a mass email saying these are the bourbons that we're going to release tomorrow morning, and sure enough, people camped out for 4-grain, right? And
that's stupid.
Believe me, for me being me, I had to sit there and I read the Breaking Bourbon reviews. I read some other ones, and I said, you know what? I'm not even getting up at even 5 a.m. to wait in line for this. So it was a way for me to try to show a little bit of restraint in myself, just to not stand in line for a few hours to wait for a bottle that is going to be subpar at the end of the day. That I would probably just be better off getting my sleep in. So.
Well, sometimes there's that gotta have it, that's definitely going on with bourbon right now. And some people just want to get out of the house, FOMO, exactly.
That's right.
Some people are just looking for a reason to camp out at a liquor store on a random Tuesday night.
Any reason to get out of the house.
Acceptable.
And by the way, this was this past weekend. It was damn near. It was the monsoon out there. It has like miles an hour winds, right?
Thank you.
Local Facebook group, and people are posting pictures and videos of rain going sideways as they're sitting in front of a liquor store, right? So, we can say, I guess it's jumped the shark a little bit. So the one thing that Quinn also mentioned that everybody should know, that if you are chasing after 4-grain, you've heard it from us that it's probably not worth the time and or effort unless it just falls into your lap, which of course, buy it. That's fine. But there is going to be a spring 2018 release that came out in the Buffalo Trace press release. So, you've got this release. And as far as I understand, that the 2018 release for E.H. Taylor is also going to be 4-grain. So fret not, there is going to be a release again next year. But with that, the price is already starting to fall in the secondary because of the amount that are showing up, and the way this hobby has grown, that people are going to start flooding the market as soon as it happens. So,
isn't there a lot of bottles of the 4-grain floating around?
So I know that there is 3.5 times more 4-grain in the state of Georgia than there was seasoned wood.
Okay.
Boom.
And seasoned wood was probably what, 4 to 5?
Two cases.
1,000 bottles.
2 cases in Georgia. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought they released number of barrels on one of them. I could be wrong. I'll have to go back and look. So for 4-grain, we could be looking at almost near 16,000 bottles.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That's
so
it.
Far.
That's probably about average.
Yeah.
All right. So let's wrap this up. Gilbert Zamora has one more question that says, do you guys ever plan on doing a round table barrel selection?
Next week.
Yes.
Yeah. One of these days.
Do it.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Kenny, tell them about the hint about possibly the next podcast.
Yeah. And the next podcast, we're going to be doing a barrel selection. No, I have actually no idea what we're going to be doing. So.
I told you what we might do.
What are we doing?
We might have a representative from a big distillery on with us.
That's right. So we might we might try to get some surprise guests in here, and
we got a big dog coming on.
Do a Reddit AMA sort of thing as Carrie likes to do. So
but not Reddit. Like we'll let the questions go ahead of time.
Right.
We'll filter them. But yeah, we may have a big dog distillery on with us next time to discuss their products and stuff.
Absolutely. And this was actually great to catch up with you guys. It's actually been pretty light in the world of bourbon news. So it's that's actually kind of refreshing, almost a little bit, right?
Well, light in the world of bourbon news is there's a Bill Jr. single barrel maker's mark coming out that will flop, right? I mean, who cares?
I'm buying it. I'm buying a case of it.
I already ordered a case. So
All right, good.
No, if anybody can get their hands on a Cubs memorabilia World Series Jim Beam bottle, hit me up. Facebook, Twitter,
That's right.
Instagram.
How about I just send you a white label and I'll use a Sharpie?
No, it needs to be hand delivered and signed by what's the lady's name?
Yeah.
No, not Mila.
Mila.
You talking about Mila Kunis?
Mila Kunis needs to be signed by her. And
who's that really hot like Hawaiian girl who's on those
she's
bourbon?
Not Hawaiian. Yeah.
Friends with Benefits, right?
Right.
That's what she's most popular for. Probably not it.
I wouldn't say no if she was my friends with benefits. Okay, let's with that. Let's get the show. So, guys, I want to say thank you so much for joining tonight. Always a pleasure. I'm going to give you one more opportunity to kind of go around the table, tell everybody where you blog at and how they can find you and all those good things. So, Blake, off to you first.
Thanks again. Enjoyed it. Blake from bourboner.com. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. It's BOURBONR.
What?
Say that again.
I think I was scolding my children when Kerry was going earlier, so I missed half of his introductions.
I only referenced it once. So
Okay.
Allowed one time.
It was mad
You
last
hit
time.
your limit early.
I'll go ahead. I'm Nick, one of the three guys behind BreakingBourbon.com. Find us online or on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook at Breaking Bourbon. Thanks again, guys. Great show.
Thank you, buddy.
All
This
right,
is
Carrie,
Gary
you're up.
from Suburbia, www.suburbia.com or on Twitter at bourbon_gamer, also Suburbia. And thanks again, guys. Lots of fun. I'm kind of tired, though. I think that 2 hours of tennis wore me down a little bit.
Or it was my late start, one or the other.
Playing that 4-5 league, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Got him chasing around the court.
Yeah, and this is Brian from Sippin' Corn, SIPPN Corn. Find me on Twitter at SippinCorn and sippincornblogspot.com. And thanks, guys. Really enjoy it.
Absolutely. And again, appreciate you guys coming on. For anybody that we had mentioned at the very beginning, we are going to be switching to video. We're actually going to take this and probably hack it up a little bit and post it on to Facebook as well. So give you guys credit where credit's due. And again, thank you for jumping in and sharing all your insights about what's been happening in the, I guess you can say, the lull of bourbon news lately, because it has been a few weeks since we jumped on. We didn't have too much to talk about, but it was definitely good. And I'm sure here in the
Great
next
questions in chat.
yeah, we're gonna keep this going for sure. This is definitely one of the most heavily listened to podcasts, and with good reason, just because of the great content and what we get going on. Because for some reason, people love it when you bitch about bourbon. I don't know why, but
Always fun.
Because they agree.
As you should.
so make sure you subscribe to us on iTunes, write good iTunes reviews, all that good thing. Follow these guys on social media. Follow us as well, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Bourbon Pursuit. And with that, we will see you all next week.
Night, fellas.
Good night.
Cheers, guys.